So a lot of you like the fact that I am recording a lot of stuff and putting it up, and you all wish that you could come and you could do this and that and the other thing, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to do that. And today I really want to talk a little bit about not the mechanics of getting to places, but rather the mental and emotional and psychic barriers, steps to do that, because we all have things that we have to overcome to do whatever it is that we want to do, whether buy a new car or an RV or travel or deal with a relationship situation or whatever. And I find that's where most of the process comes into play, and that's where our self-talk and our idea of what we can and can't do really define what we actually end up doing. If our self-talk is, oh, I couldn't possibly do that, oh no, I have other responsibilities, oh, this, that, and the other thing keeps me from doing it, then it will. But if we say, well, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it, and it's going to get done, then you'll find a way. The biggest issue is that, and this is not having to do with God or anything else. I mean, in some ways you could look at it that way, but there is no, unless you're totally wealthy, there is no path that assures of success in anything. And even if you're wealthy, the plane could go down and crash or whatever. But if one has faith and doesn't have to look at the outcome totally, I mean, you can have an idea of what you want to accomplish in your mind, but at the same time, having it laid out step by step, it's almost impossible. There's just too many variables. But what you do have to have is the willingness to try and trust that things will develop. You know what they say, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. Another one, I don't remember what movie it was from, was What the Bleep or something like that. Basically said you can drive to New York from California with a car at night and you'll never see the whole road, but you'll see the next 100 yards with your headlights. And as long as you trust that there's a road that will take you there, then you just start driving and you see 100 yards at a time. And this kind of stuff is the same way. How it plays out, that's left in the never land to know. But if you say, okay, well, I'm willing to, or I want to, in my situation, move to another place where I could afford to live on what I get in Social Security, then I took what steps I could to make that happen, and several people helped me along the way, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do it as well or as easily as I did. But overall, I took the first step. I looked into it, and it's like trying to do my residency here. Because I'm Argentine, really, it's been a pain in the butt, because I hadn't updated my Argentine passport or identity card or none of that. So I've had to do that first, because I'm an American citizen by nationalization, not by birth. But if you're an American citizen by birth, then you have your passport, and that's pretty much all you need. But for me, and your birth certificate. But for me, because I didn't, I had to get an updated birth certificate from Argentina, which I'm still waiting for. And it's a lot of headaches because it's Argentina. They said, well, why don't you go down there? It's like, I'm not going to spend $1,000 on a ticket just to update my birth certificate. So I finally figured out how to do it. Several people guided me in that. But the point is not that, the mechanics of it, but rather one has to have the willingness to try and decide that this is what I want to do. Nobody ever accomplished anything by not deciding anything. I always said, no matter what you're doing, it all starts on a spiritual or mental level, I dare you and challenge you to think of any one thing you ever did where you did it before you thought about doing it and figuring out how to do it. It's impossible. I mean, unless you fall off a ladder or something like that. But something that you wanted to do, first you have to conceptualize the idea that I want to do it, and then you have to figure out how to do it. And it's not always clear cut, and a lot of us want clear cut steps to make it happen before we take any steps, and the universe just doesn't work like that. Um, that's why people get told, if you're looking for a job, go and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. I'm willing to work for a day for free just to show you what I can do. Because that shows a willingness, that shows some gumption, and that shows the person that's looking to hire somebody that, okay, this guy has drive and is willing to try. And it's not necessarily that you have to be an expert at anything. You just have to be willing to try. So this is the same way. And part of the reason why I post all this stuff is because I want to help people that want to do this. I mean, I see a lot of people in the U.S. struggling financially to make ends meet on the amount of Social Security they get, whether it's $600 or $1,000 or whatever. And obviously with $600 a month, it's harder to do than if you have $1,200 a month. But here, it's all doable. A woman moved into my apartment complex who happens to be American, but she's been living down here for 7 years. And I haven't talked to her about what she makes and, what she lives on and all that. But she's been here 7 years. Where I'm at, it took me, a month to find a place that I was comfortable in. And the other one was 4 times bigger, really, than this one. But this one's much nicer, better location and all that. And it's only $165 a month. No AC. That's the one thing. So I live in front of the fan. I realize I have a projector, which I love because it's like a huge screen, but it puts out a lot of heat. So I can watch the same thing on my laptop, and it doesn't put out a lot of heat, which the last thing I need is more heat in my apartment. So I only watch it first thing in the morning or later in the evening. And yesterday I just watched it from the computer. I'm accustomed to a large screen TV just because that's what I have in my RV, and that's the projector I have. So, but beyond that. So anyway, it's an interesting process, and all of you can do it. I mean, obviously, if you have some physical disability that you have to be in a wheelchair or quadriplegic, then it's a lot harder. A lot of people ask me about medical care and all of that, and I don't know about the medical care from a personal perspective, because I haven't needed anything. I posted it before, when I take high blood pressure medicine. So I just wanted to check and see how much it would cost and if I could get it. And you can get it without a prescription for $4 for a month's supply. So it's really easy to get. In Arizona, I get it for free, but I have to make an appointment. I have to drive a 150-mile round trip. So what's a $4 bill here, when you take into consideration the 3 hours I have to travel and the gas and all that, it comes up to, $40, $50 plus my time. Medical care is free for everybody here. So it's pretty good. And there were a couple people in the forums that I joined that said, in the United States, I take a generic medicine and it's $1,700 a quarter for my drug with insurance. She pays 20% of that, whatever, But it's a very expensive one. I know when my wife had cancer, after we got divorced, she got cancer. One injection that she got of a drug was $18,000. Now this woman that pays $1,700 in the United States for this drug for a quarter, here it costs $4, and it's the same generic, it's the same pill. So it's a lot cheaper on many levels here. The rent's cheaper, the drugs are cheaper, the food's cheaper. You're definitely going to have to make some adjustments. There's no question about that. It's not going to be going to Walmart and buying 20 kinds of vegetables and 10 kinds of cereal boxes and all that. Here, somewhat more limited. Although Maxi Pali, which is the biggest discount store, is owned by Walmart, so you see a lot of the same products, but not nearly as many. But I can eat. Like yesterday, I went for a walk and I stopped, and these ladies were making tortillas, and I bought 6 tortillas for under $1. And they were handmade and made on the fire. You can look at my videos, you'll see them there. But to get to that point, I digress. To get to that point, the biggest thing is just being willing to try to figure out what you want to do, whether you want to travel, whether you want to live somewhere cheaper, whether you want to have a newer car, whatever. I wanted another van after my van burnt to the ground sitting there in my RV spot. So I didn't have any money to buy another van, but somebody else had a van that they were looking to sell, and I offered to install their solar in exchange for the van. So we did that. So I got the van for basically free, and I did my work for her for free. And then I remodeled the van and did all that with scraps really that I had laying around the house, and I was able to get a van that's now worth $7,000-8,000, which I'm now selling. But that was because I hadn't planned on coming here. I was going to use it to travel, but then I thought, this is better. So things evolve and things change. And I talk a lot about my horoscopes because, and I know some of you think I'm nuts, but I get foretold all sorts of stuff. And it's like, I was bound and determined to get my Argentine passport renewed, and I had made the appointment in LA, and it was going to cost me $200 just in gas, plus $200 for the paperwork. And I got an appointment. It was going to be July 1st, which was 2 months down the road. So, and my horoscope says, you're going to have an idea that's going to be like an aha moment on, I think it was September 8th or 9th. They gave some very specific dates, and it's going to change your life. And I'm like, well, what could that be? What the hell are they talking about? And sure enough, on that day, I realized I could do everything I was waiting to do in Arizona. I could do it in Nicaragua and save a lot more money. And the thing of it was, not only was I going to spend $400 to get there, but I was probably going to spend $200 to $400 in gas to run the generator all night, because when it gets that hot, you basically have to have air conditioning at night. And I can run my air conditioner all day long, just on batteries and solar, but at night, I don't have enough battery. I don't think anybody would have enough batteries to run it all night. So as soon as I realized that, I bought my ticket, and I came down here in like 2 weeks. And I didn't have to pay for the gas for the generator. I didn't have to pay $200 in gas to go to LA, and all of that. So it got a lot easier. And I realized that while I was here and I wasted time going to the Argentine consulate, that I was able to get my residence here a lot quicker and a lot better by not getting my Argentine passport. So I have the American stuff. I just thought it would cost a lot of money, but it turns out I really don't have to translate as much as I thought I did. I have one paper to translate, which is Social Security, and that's it, So that's going to cost me $20-30 here. So I'll probably save $300 in all this rigmarole. And another horoscope said, you want to go from point A to point B, and there is no clear path to that. You're going to have to flounder and go this, go that, try this, try the other thing, and none of them are going to get you to where you want to go, but each one is going to take you to another place that might take you to the other place that might help you get to where you want to go. And that's basically what happened. And if I didn't know that, if I didn't have the faith that I was being led by Spirit in the right way, I would have been freaking out. And some days I was. It takes a lot of energy for me to keep my mind focused on a positive outcome when things look totally dismayed. But that's where we have control over ourselves, how we control our mind, or not control our mind and let everybody else control it for us, which a lot of people do. And that's why I say, it's all an inner thing. What happens in the outside world is an extension of what we and how we think. But it's a process. There is no, okay, I'm going to do this and then everything is fine. And you do it once and you're proud of yourself, and then the next 3 times you fail miserably, or I fail miserably, and it's like, oh shit, now why am I, oh yeah, I need to get back to doing that. So it's, if we look at the process, the one thing I have to say, when you're struggling with something new, the first time is the hardest. Primarily because you have to overcome the inertia of trying something new, of trusting the process even though you don't know that it's going to work out. Once you've done it once, whatever it is, then you're like, oh, okay, well, I did it one time, and it might cost me 3 times to get it right, but I know that I can do it. So that inertia of overcoming the newness is no longer there. The inertia about doing something new might be there, and you'll still struggle. I mean, you guys, I don't know if you've seen my videos on fixing the van. Man, it took me like 2 weeks to figure out what the problem was, and it was one of the coils. And in the van, because it's a van, I'm not going to change that in my truck in like 2 hours. But in the van, because everything is so hidden, and I couldn't even get my hands. I had to wait a week to get a special wrench just so I could get the wrench in there. And the wrench itself was only $3, but it was just a pain in the rear to do. But I stuck to it, and I eventually got it, and now it runs fine. But and that's like everything else. You just have to be willing to try and try and try. And you know what they say, and these are all cliches that we've all heard many times, but there's a reason why they're cliches and why they're retold. It's like success is just one more try. And if you quit in the middle, then you remember your failures. But if you keep going until you get a success, then you remember your success. Edison, they say, tried to invent the light bulb for 1,000 times, and he failed 999. But nobody remembers all the failures. They just remember the success. And when you're trying, well, the best thing to do is to keep your mouth shut and not tell everybody else, because everybody else has a vested interest in you not succeeding, because then if you succeed, then they have to say, oh, well, I should do that too, and they don't want to for whatever reason. So it's best to contain your energy, focus on your own stuff, and do what you need to do. Don't look for outside validation in everything you do. And I'm kind of talking about all this stuff because I want you guys to be able to do the things that you want to do, whether it's travel or buy a car or whatever. And there's always, as my dad used to say, more than one way to skin a cat. And I'm sorry if you vegetarians and animal lovers. I mean, I love animals too, and I would never skin a cat, but you get the idea. So whatever it is that you want to do, think about how to make it happen, even if you don't know. When I meditate, and I don't do it as much as I used to, but when I meditated, I would end every meditation with asking for something. And what I asked for was basically, give me the information on the things that I know not to ask for. Because I have all sorts of ideas about what I want, right? We all do. But oftentimes the most important things are the things that we don't even realize that we need to be able to get what we want. And what we want and what we need are two very different things at times. So figured if I asked that, then it covered all the bases. And then, I would get white light and tingling and all of that. And it worked out usually pretty well. Better than what I had possibly thought it might. And, go from there. So I hope this helps any of you or even one of you. It's well worth it. And I'm sharing kind of the process that I go through. There's days that I'm depressed because, oh man, it's so hard and I don't know anybody. And there's days that it's like, oh, it's going pretty good. And that's all part of the process. It's not all happy and not all bad. It's just a mixture of the two. So I hope you have a great day, a great week, and that you follow your dreams, whatever they might be. All right. That's it for today. Have a blessed day and goodbye.